Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It's Saturday. I hope the weekend is going well, wherever you are watching or listening to this around the world. The Euro started last night. That was a fun opener, unless, of course, you're Scottish. That party didn't last too long, did it? Not that I'm laughing at Scotland, obviously. But yeah, huge night for Germany. Kicked off the tournament with a bang. Kai Havertz right on it from the start. Goal and assist for him in a 5-1 win. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. We're going to talk about Aaron Ramsdale, who's been speaking about his Arsenal future, really, and what he doesn't want to happen next season. Pretty strong words from him. Never again, he said, in terms of the season he's just had sitting on the bench, not playing. Talk about Michael Olise as well. Not that he's been linked with Arsenal, but just think it's really interesting that that's all sort of kicking off. Chelsea yet again going for a player. Is there any player in the world they don't go for? Disappointed that I haven't seen Arsenal sort of mentioned yet really significantly in the mix with Michael Olise, because as you all know, that is a player I would love to have at the football club going into next season. So plenty to discuss. Got some reaction from you guys as well, especially about what we were talking about in terms of Gabriel Martinelli's future as well. So let's get started. And let's start with Aaron Ramsdale and his comments, speaking over while he's away with England, about the season he has just endured at Arsenal. And he says, look, no footballer wants to not play. I've had a tough year personally not playing, and I never want to do that again. It was tough. It was tough. But I had my release now. I'm here now. I've got the greatest honour, the greatest badge on my chest. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I play a minute or no minutes, this will be the pinnacle for me, the best day ever. For the time being, I'm probably one of the happiest 26, 27 men in England. And hopefully we can make not just us, but however many millions at home the happiest as well. I hope you are right there, Aaron, that we're all celebrating in about a month's time. But yeah, interesting what he said at the start of that. I had a tough year personally not playing. I never want to do that again. It was tough. I mean, it's a pretty clear signal there to Arsenal and to everyone in terms of what Aaron Ramsdale's plans are ahead of the new season. No surprise there. He was never going to want to do another season sitting on the bench when he's just forced his way into the England picture. You know, at the time of losing his place, he was really pushing Jordan Pickford for that number one spot. He'd just played in the game against Scotland, hadn't he, way back at the start of the season and had taken, well, not taken the number one, but he was really pushing for it. It felt in another strong season, he could have really been in a run-in for it for the Euros, but that didn't happen. He barely played, obviously, after David Raya came in. Look, I think it was the right decision by Mikel Arteta. I think he's been proven right. I think David Raya's proven to be an absolutely excellent addition to Arsenal. He's improved Arsenal. There's no doubt about that in my mind. I know other people have got some different opinions on that, which is fair enough. But for Ramsdale, he just wants to go and play, and there's no surprise whatsoever about that. I think from an Arsenal point of view, look, it depends on the offers. And I've said this before, if Arsenal get a really derisory offer for Ramsdale, which wouldn't surprise me initially because of the situation he's in, the fact that everyone knows he wants to go, the fact that Arsenal would be open to selling him, that might lead to some pretty low offers, first of all. But if that's all that comes in, then I'd be like, well, I'm sorry, Aaron, you're just going to stick around, I'm afraid, for another season, because I think if you're just going to take any old money for Aaron Ramsdale, it just sends out a terrible signal. He's worth a huge amount of money, in my mind. Arsenal spent big money to bring him in. He's turned into a much better goalkeeper since then. You can't just give away assets like that, especially when you're kind of known already as a club who's not very good at selling. It just sends out a terrible signal for the rest of the summer. So Arsenal need to stand firm here with Aaron Ramsdale. They need to get some decent, significant market value for him. If they do that, by all means, off he goes, can restart his career somewhere else, have a really successful season. No one at Arsenal will wish him any sort of ill will. He'll go with the blessing of everyone. He's such a popular player with the squad, with his teammates, with the staff, with the fans, and he can go. But no surprise that he feels the way he does about it. But at the end of the day, it is business, and Arsenal do need to make some decent money when it comes to selling a goalkeeper as good and at the age that Ramsdale is. Got to make some money on that. But let me know your thoughts on it all in the comments below. Moving on, some interesting news from David Ornstein last night. Reiss Nelson informs Arsenal he wants to assess his options for a potential transfer this summer. Arsenal rejected approaches in January, would want 20 million, including add-ons, if they decide to sell. Palace, Fulham, Forest, West Ham among 24-year-olds suitors. We know that West Ham were very, very interested in Reiss Nelson in the past, in January even, but Arsenal weren't willing to let him go. This is an interesting one because I kind of look at the makeup of the squad and, going through the players who I think would probably go. Emil, I thought Ramsdale, I thought Eddie. I wasn't sure about Reiss just because of the makeup of the squad and that if Arsenal do sell Reiss, I think they definitely have to buy a replacement. They have to get another winger. And the reason I was thinking they might not sell Reiss, they might sell the others ahead of Reiss, and they obviously haven't made a decision yet. This is just Reiss informing Arsenal that he'd be open to a transfer this summer. I just look at that squad and I look at the backup Arsenal have to, Saka. And I know Reiss didn't play much, but he was at least sort of natural backup for that right-hand side. If you get rid of Reiss, then you have to replace him. You have to bring in another winger this summer. I think, yes, you've got Gabriel Jesus who can play there. We saw Gabriel Martinelli look pretty sharp when he played there on the final game of the season against Everton. But even so, I still think if Reiss goes, a direct replacement needs to come in. And whether Arsenal would be up for doing that, who knows? It kind of depends on what their plans are for the summer now that Sesko obviously isn't going to happen. Do they now revert to putting all their efforts into signing a winger who can score goals rather than an out-and-out number 9, you're sort of Pedro Neto type player? Or, we're going to speak about very, very soon, Michael Olise, that type of player. But fair play to Reiss. There's no point in him just sitting around not playing much. He barely got any minutes yesterday. I think Arsenal need to get good money for him because although he's not playing, he's still a very good player. He's still young. He's got a decent contract. You've got to get good money for him if you sell. But it'd be good for Reiss, I think, to go off. I don't know about you guys, what you think about it, but just when you get to this, it's the same with Emil, isn't it? And even Eddie. There's just no point when you get to this age, if you're not playing really, I think for your career, to really sort of give yourself the best chance of going on and having a really good career that you look back on at the end and think, yeah, I gave it everything I could. You've got to go at some point. So fair play to Reiss for doing it. It'll be interesting to see what Arsenal's decision is when it comes to his future. Another player being linked heavily with a move away. I've seen lots of reports recently about Thomas Partey and a deal being very, very close with Saudi Arabian club for him to move on. Not the information that I have on it. There is interest in Thomas. Thomas is aware of that. Thomas Camp's aware of that. But as far as I'm aware, there's been no offer made yet for Thomas. Obviously, he's been away with Ghana at the moment. His future is very much up in the air. We know that Arsenal would be more than willing to let him go this summer if a bid arrived. Partey's preference as it stands right now is to stay at Arsenal. He's not pushing for a move away. But, if an offer does come in and it is a very tempting offer with a long-term contract, considering he's only got a year left at Arsenal, then who knows? It'll be something that might change his thinking when it comes to his long-term future. But for now, his preference is Arsenal. And as far as I'm aware and have been told, no offers have been made to Thomas Partey from any clubs, even in Saudi Arabia. But there is interest there, and that interest is known by everyone. But nothing's gone further than that as it stands right now. Again, it's a move that I think would be a good one if Arsenal do make some decent money on him. But it all depends on them getting a replacement. You can't let Thomas Partey go and not get a replacement. It just absolutely has to happen. Let me know, as always, your thoughts on that. Alan Reiss Nelson in the comments below. Okay, Michael Olise. I've mentioned him a couple of times now so far in this video. Since the last time I recorded one, obviously we did the Team News and Tick show yesterday. That was pre-recorded, and just after we'd done that, the sort of news started to filter out that clubs had started contacting Crystal Palace to ask about Michael Olise and to ask whether they can talk to him. Newcastle, Bayern Munich, Chelsea as well. And yeah, it's a really interesting one. See, I think he's perfect for Arsenal. I think he'd be brilliant. I think he can play on the right-hand side. He can play in the middle. He can add goals. He can add creativity. If you're not going to sign a striker this summer, then Michael Olise can give you that added goal threat, that added quality in the final third that you would need. You can have Havertz, you can have Jesus as your forwards, but you just got another goal threat added into the mix behind, even if you're not signing a striker. I think he's a wonderful player. He makes things happen. We know that Arsenal are kind of on the lookout for an X-factor type player, someone who can do something out of nothing in a really tight game when it's not happening, when a low block is playing as low as they possibly can, and it's really hard to get through. Arsenal don't really have that player who can just explode and, just beat 2 or 3 defenders and then curl one into the top corner from outside the box. If you've got Olise absolutely have someone who can do that. So I'd love Arsenal to really go into the running. There are other clubs interested in Michael Olise, so we'll see how it pans out. I don't want him to go to Chelsea. It's like where they've got Cole Palmer playing in that position. It's just like buy all the players, isn't it? If you're Chelsea, buy all the players. Don't let anyone else sign anyone. Let's get them all. I hope he doesn't go there. By all accounts, his preference is to go to a Champions League club. Of course, Chelsea aren't in that at the moment. Newcastle aren't in that at the moment. Bayern Munich are. And if it's a straight fight between those three clubs, then I think he should certainly head over to Bayern Munich rather than anyone else. But love Arsenal to enter into the mix for him. I think he's absolutely perfect for what they need if they're not going to go out and sign themselves a big number 9 this summer. Talking about a big number 9 who's scoring goals and doing well, the reason that Arsenal might not be dipping into the market and pushing the boat out is because of Kai Havertz and how well he played when he made that move up front for the second half of last season, the goals he scored, and he carried that into yesterday's opening game of the Euros. Of course, Germany absolutely hammering a miserable, inept Scotland. What sort of performance that was from Scotland, I have absolutely no idea. Felt for their fans, obviously. There was about 250,000 of them got over to Munich for that game. They'd partied throughout. The atmosphere in the city had been amazing by all accounts. They were so up for it, and then their team just let them down on the night. Yes, Germany were very, very good. I thought they probably would be, but I don't know what sort of performance that was from Scotland. Whether they just got totally overawed by the occasion, I don't know. But Germany were fantastic. Florian Wirtz, Musiala, those players playing behind Kai Havertz were just exceptional. Musiala was fantastic. What a talent he is. There's another player that Arsenal should be doing everything they can to be in the running for if he does end up leaving Bayern Munich at some point. Havertz set Musiala up for the second goal. Nice little run from Havertz, cut inside, rolled the ball back. Brilliant from Musiala. Havertz made it 3-0 with a penalty just before half-time. And then obviously another couple of goals in the second half for Germany. And I always felt, they're my team to beat in this competition. And everyone's talking about England and France are the two favourites. I just think Germany, they've got such a talented attacking lineup. They've got home advantage, which is obviously so crucial. And if you can get the momentum behind you early on and you can get the country behind you early on, we saw it happen with England last time out in the Euros. That can just give you such a boost to get you through the tournament. And I think Germany, as they showed last night, they are going to be really hard to beat. And when you've got players like Wirtz and Musiala playing as well as they are at the moment, coming into it on the back of the sort of seasons they are. Yes, Bayern had a disappointing season, but Musiala was excellent for Bayern. Wirtz had the season of his life for Leverkusen. Full of confidence. Havertz up front, full of confidence as well after the second half of the season he's had. And they're just going to be really, really difficult to beat. So I thought it was a great start to the tournament. Can't wait for today. You've got some cracking games. Really looking forward to Croatia versus Spain. 3 games today. Fantastic. And then, of course, England tomorrow. Looks like William Saliba is going to be playing for France, starting for France as well, which is great for him. I can't believe it's taken this long for Deschamps to finally realise that he needs to play William Saliba. It's just mind-boggling that he wasn't beforehand. But it looks like he's forced his way into the starting 11 in training yesterday. By all accounts, he was playing in the starting 11 team and playing next to Upamecano, I think. So it doesn't look like Konate is going to feature in that game. In England, of course, looks like Aaron Ramsdale will be on the bench and Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka will be starting in their match on Sunday night. So really good start to the Euros. Can't wait for more of it today. Okay, a few questions and comments now before we wrap this one up. Here's one from Paddywan6 who says, random one, but had this thought. And it's one for maybe you and James likely has the answer. Do you think our players would be talking to Arteta during international tournaments? They've all talked about how much he influenced their games with coaching details. Obviously, they're playing to their international manager's game plan, but Mikel surely has something to offer to them throughout a tournament regardless. I think if I was Declan, I'll be on the phone with Mikel and probably Carlos before and after every game, but maybe it's just not done. No, I don't think it's done. I think they might talk to him via text. I'm sure if they have a good game, Mikel will text them and say, well done, or just before a game, he'll be like, good luck, hope it goes well. But I don't think they're going to be sitting there talking to him about anything sort of tactical through a tournament. I think that'd be a bit disrespectful, to be honest, from for the other international managers. For the international managers, if you've got another manager ringing up or a player speaking to them, it could confuse the players a little bit. So I'd be stunned if something like that happened. I'm sure there'd probably be good luck text messages, but I'd be very, very surprised if it's anything more than that. Quite a lot of reaction to the chat myself and Team News and Ticks had in a response to a question we had, which was like, would you sell Gabriel Martinelli for 100 million this summer? And we had a big discussion about it. I'm in and are in. I think it would be very hard to turn down that sort of money from Gabriel Martinelli, but I don't want Arsenal to sell him. I think he'll have a really good season next season, Gabriel Martinelli, and I'm not writing him off on the back of one, not even poor season, just slightly underwhelming season that he's just had. And as I said in yesterday's show, I think there was big mitigating circumstances for that. But quite a lot of reaction from you guys. James said, I'd take 100 million for Martinelli all day long. Stephen says, Martinelli didn't have the best of seasons simply because he didn't have a supporting fullback. Most players that played left back last season were inverting into midfield, leaving Martinelli alone. He also didn't strike a partnership with any left back because of injuries to the left backs. Arteta had to alternate. Also, after Martinelli's injury, he struggled to get back to his best. Compared to Saka on the other wing, Saka had White, who always supported him with overlapping runs. I agree with that, Stephen, 100%. Tony says, Martinelli is a brilliant player. Did he lose his form? He did lose his form, but all players lose form at some stage. Absolutely, 100%, especially young players, and especially on quite an injury-hit season, which, as Stephen pointed out, was so disrupted behind him as well in terms of the partnerships that he had on the pitch. And then AMSN 9393 says 100 million for Martinelli. Absolutely, take it all day. He hasn't improved his game a single bit. That's really harsh. I think he has 100%. And there are a lot of wingers of world-class football better than him. We can all make excuses for changing the system for his bad season, but that's not the case. As in the same system, Trossard bagged goals and performed brilliantly while playing a lot less minutes. For me, 100 million Martinelli is daylight robbery. Sell, and invest that 100 million in a top winger. See, I don't really understand that. Well, I don't really agree with that more than understand it. Trossard did have a brilliant season, goal scoring wise, but I think when you looked at the games, Trossard was in and out in games when he played. He just had that ruthlessness in front of goal that Martinelli didn't have. Martinelli easily could have finished last season with 15 plus goals. He just missed chances that we don't expect him to miss, and I think that was a confidence issue. I thought in terms of his performances, though, he never shirked anything. He never stopped trying or work. He still caused problems. I just think in front of goal, he struggled a little bit. Trossard, not taking anything away from him, I thought he was excellent. He scored brilliant, big goals. Deservedly has his place in the team at the moment on the left-hand side. But he was in and out of games. He was that kind of player who you wouldn't notice really too much. Then bang, he'd pop up with a really important goal. So yeah, I think it was slightly different. I think the two of them are also completely different players when they're playing in that system for Arsenal. But thank you everyone for your reaction on that. I really do appreciate it. And that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for your time and your effort on this Saturday, listening or watching for this. Enjoy the football today for the rest of the day. Anything you want me to talk about tomorrow, you know what to do. Whether it's football today, whether it's anything to do with Arsenal, put it all together for the Sunday roundup show tomorrow, and I will get them in there included and talk about some of them as always. Until then, have a fantastic Saturday. Enjoy the start to your weekend. I'll speak to you very, very soon. Goodbye.